Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. Now, if you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, the games I love the most, including my top play in Major League Baseball each day, that's my Rundown Best Bet. You can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Wednesday in Major League Baseball. First up, the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Eric Fedde and Mitch Keller are your starters. Now, both of these starting pitchers struggled in their last starts, and we've seen now both of them have an ERA above 7. I do think they're a lot better than those outings, and I think they bounce back here. I'm willing to take the under in the first 5 innings. You look at both of these pitchers against the current roster and the opposition, great numbers. I mean, Eric Fedde, 59 plate appearances, a 267 xWOBA. On the other side, Mitch Keller's had a lot of experience facing the Cardinals, pitching in the NL Central throughout his career. 134 plate appearances, not a high strikeout rate, but a low walk rate and a decent xWOBA at 316. I think Keller bounces back after struggling to the Yankees. The Pirates have one of the weaker lineups in baseball against righties, so I think Fedde bounces back. Give me the under in the first 5 innings between the Cardinals and Pirates. Next up, we have the Miami Marlins taking on the New York Mets. We're going to see Max Meyer and Tyler McGill as the starters. I mentioned I think McGill was a breakout candidate this season, having a great start to the year. He's got a .87 ERA in 2 starts, 2-0 record with 10 strikeouts, no home runs given up. As long as he's limiting the free passes, limiting the walks, I think he's going to put together a great 2025, potentially move up in that Mets rotation. While on the other side, Max Meyer has pitched well himself this season in limited work, 11 2/3. His strikeout numbers are 15 Ks and 11 2/3, well above a strikeout per inning. He does give up, though, some sharp contact, and that's why I do think the Mets' top half of the order could find a bloop and a blast at some point in this game against Meyer and kind of run away with it. Kind of what we saw in the first game of this series, which it was only 2-0, but it was enough to cover the run line. I think the Mets can win this game in kind of the 4-1, 5-1 range, a lower scoring run line cover. And I think Pete Alonso is certainly a candidate to hit a home run in this game. Pete Alonso has a home run against Meyer in the limited at-bats he's had against him. And he's also just had great approaches at the plate to start the season. Beyond the statistics, you just watch Pete Alonso. It just looks like he's really seeing the pitches well, and I like the at-bats he's putting together. I think he gets a home run in this ball game, potentially off Meyer himself. I'm going to go with the Mets in this one and lay the 1.5 runs as well. Next up, we have the New York Yankees taking on the Detroit Tigers. Max Fried and Jack Flaherty are your starters. Like I mentioned with the Mets game and Pete Alonso as a potential home run prop guy, I'm going to start doing those more for some of these games where I actually see something as we get some more data. And this is another game where I think Cody Bellinger is worth a look. He's got pretty good at-bats against Flaherty in his career, a lot of experience against Flaherty, a pretty steep expected slugging percentage with a home run against Flaherty as well in 15 AB. So he would be worth a look. We know Aaron Judge is always a candidate for a bomb, but I think Bellinger might be, just a better price. And when you look at this game overall, I do like the Yankees to win it. The Tigers not consistent against lefties to start the season. They got to Rodon, but they also got, crushed against Martin Perez. He had a great outing. So I think that Max Fried, who pitched a lot better in his second start of the season, can put together a good quality start here. I think the Yankees can find a few runs on Flaherty. I think the Yankees win this game on the road. Next up, we have the Texas Rangers taking on the Chicago Cubs. We have Tyler Mahle and Shota Imanaga as the projected starters. Recently at Wrigley Field, we've seen some colder weather games, the wind blowing in, there was some rain in the area. It has been pitcher-friendly weather recently. It doesn't always mean the game's going to go under, but it does benefit the pitchers, I think, in this situation as well. And with Imanaga pitching really well and Mahle having a great start in his last game against the Rays, I'm willing to take the under in this one. I mean, Imanaga last year, sub-3 ERA at home at Wrigley Field in about 100 innings of work, low opponent's batting average. I think he puts together a quality start. And, Tyler Mahle, 5 innings of 1 hit, 5 strikeouts, shutout baseball in his last game against the Rays. I think he puts together a good outing in the pitcher-friendly weather at Wrigley Field. So give me the under here in Rangers-Cubs. Next up, we have the San Diego Padres and the Athletics. We got Randy Vasquez and Osvaldo Bido on the mound. I got to say, I was really impressed with Bido in his last start at Coors Field, his Coors Field debut on Friday. And yes, it was colder weather there. It was not as hitter-friendly at Coors as it will be the rest of the season, but it was still a really impressive outing. 5 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts. The A's were able to win that game in extra innings in the end. And, I think Bido's pitching well to start the year. I think he gets some run support in this one. I'm not in love with Randy Vasquez's performance so far. even though he's got a good ERA at 1.69 on paper, he's got 5 strikeouts and 10 2/3, so not missing a lot of bats. And when you add to the fact that you've earned, given up 9 walks in those 10 2/3, 4 walks in the first game, 5 in the second game, it's just a recipe for disaster. Putting guys on for free and not earning any missed bats, not earning those strikeouts. I do expect big-time regression going forward for Randy Vasquez. I think the A's can get to him. I'm going to go with the A's in this one on the money line. Next up, we have the Orioles and the Diamondbacks. We got Dean Kramer and Brandon Pfaadt on the mound in this one. Dean Kramer 2-0 to the over so far. Pfaadt is 1-1 after his last game against the Nationals, which wasn't great. 3 home runs given up, 4 earned against the Washington team, not really known for a lot of power, but they were able to get to him. And now you're pitching at Chase Field. I do like the over in this game. I mean, I think when you look at Dean Kramer in his career against the current Diamondbacks hitters, not the best numbers. 511 expected slugging percentage is pretty steep. And he just hasn't, you look at his last game against KC, only 1 strikeout in 4 1/3 innings, 8 base hits, a lot of base runners given up so far from Kramer. Even without Ketel Marte, I think Arizona can get to him. I think the Orioles can certainly get to Brandon Pfaadt, who's been very inconsistent in his career and so far this season as well, even though he's put together 2 6+ inning performances. I got to go with the over here in Baltimore, Arizona. Next up, we have the Cincinnati Reds taking on the San Francisco Giants. Nick Martinez and Justin Verlander are your starters. Now, of course, the first time I'm willing to say, all right, I'll take the Cincinnati Reds and Nick Martinez. I do think he has a decent matchup here. Reds will back him up. And I've mentioned so many times, I don't think he's a viable starting pitching option, but I took the Reds anyway, and he gives up 3 runs in 4 2/3, the only 3 runs given up in the game by Cincinnati, and they lose that game 3-2. Now, Martinez is 0-2 as a starting pitcher to start the year. I can't back him in this one, even though Verlander has not really impressed me on the other side either. He gave up in 2 1/3 against the Mariners, 3 runs, a homer, 2 walks. I don't love either of these options right now, but I don't love the over either because you're at a pitcher-friendly ballpark. You've got 2 inconsistent offenses right now. I'm going to lean towards San Francisco, but for me, it's just a fade of Nick Martinez. I do think he ends up being a not profitable starting pitcher on the money line this year. He's already 0-2, so give me San Francisco on the money line. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the Washington Nationals. Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Jake Irvin are the starters. Jake Irvin's given up a lot of base runners so far, and I think that's a problem when you're facing a Dodgers team that can build big innings, and I think that's what we see in this one. I could see LA having a 4 or 5 run inning in a game like this, and that would be all they would need, in my opinion, to go on to win this game and cover the run line. We know Yamamoto pitched against the Nationals last season at Nationals Park. It was one of his best starts of the season. 6 innings, 7 strikeouts, no runs. He was very sharp in that game, and I think that the Dodgers will give him some run support early, find a few runs late on the Nationals bullpen. I'm going to go with the Dodgers here and lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, we have the Seattle Mariners hosting the Houston Astros. Hunter Brown and Luis F. Castillo on the mound in this one. Not to be confused with the other Luis Castillo, the ace-level starting pitcher in this Mariners rotation. Castillo is kind of thrown into his tough spot here, facing the Astros. Pretty tough lineup. In that first game against San Francisco, where he was really thrown in there as a starter last minute, 3 innings, 3 earned runs, 6 base hits in a loss. It ended up being a competitive game, though. It was a 10-9 final score, so Castillo did not take the loss in that ball game, but I think he does here against Hunter Brown, a great option for Houston. He was razor sharp in that last game against the Twins. 6 innings, 2 runs, struggled a little bit early, but then was coasting the rest of the way. 8 strikeouts, no walks, and Brown's got good numbers against the current Mariners lineup. He's got 100 plate appearances against them, playing in the AL West, and over 32% strikeout rate, low xWOBA. I got to go with the Astros in this one on the money line and run line on the road. Next up, the Chicago White Sox and the Cleveland Guardians. We got Sean Burke and Logan Allen as the projected starters. Logan Allen struggled in his season debut, but I do think going forward he'll still be a good option in this Guardians rotation. He has a much better matchup here facing the White Sox than facing the Padres, which has been a pretty good lineup against lefties over the last couple of seasons. Allen's big problem in that game against San Diego was his control. He gave up 5 walks in 5 1/3 innings. Also was not able to really put away hitters in that ball game. He just only had 1 strikeout in that start, and he was able to get away with it through the first 3 innings or so, but then towards the middle innings, the 4th and 5th, is where he started to unravel. I think he'll be a lot better going forward, like I said. He has a much better matchup. Sean Burke, I think the Guardians can find a couple of runs on him early, but I think most of the damage for Cleveland comes against the bullpen towards the end of this game. So you're not guaranteed to get 9 full innings of at-bats with Cleveland as they're the home team, but I'm still not concerned with that. That's already implemented into the line. I'm going to take the run line anyway with the home team, and this one with the Guardians. Next up, we have the Boston Red Sox taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Kevin Gausman and Tanner Houck are your starters. This is a situation where you do have to be careful when you're looking at black and white data on paper, because you can mention, hey, Kevin Gausman's got an ERA above 5 at Fenway Park. He struggled there in his career, and it's definitely worth something. But we got to remember that Gausman's been around the block for a while. He's been a major league starting pitcher for a long time, over 10 years. And the first 5-6 seasons of his career, he was a member. He was a not so great starting pitching option of the Orioles in the AL East, where they faced the Red Sox quite often. And you got to remember a lot of those struggles at Fenway were when he was just not an amazing starting pitching option at that point in his career in 2013 to 2017, 2018. Then he joined the Braves, wasn't so great there for a couple of seasons. Has had his moment. He was a great option in San Francisco. Had a solid season with the Reds in 2020 or 2019. And then, of course, with the Blue Jays the last few years, the last 5 seasons or so, Gausman's been a Cy Young level starting pitcher or an ace level starting pitcher. He just wasn't that starter when he was a member of the Orioles. So those struggles at Fenway Park, I don't really look into them too deeply, because he's got amazing numbers against the Red Sox current roster, the current players playing today in his career. He's got a super high strikeout rate, low xWOBA. The reason why I like the Red Sox in this game is because Gausman's last start against the Mets, I think he was rather fortunate to only give up 3 runs in that game. It wasn't a good outing, wasn't missing a lot of bats. Only he had no strikeouts by the end of the game. 2 walks, a homer, a lot of sharp contact. The Mets just weren't able to make him pay too much, but it still ended up being a 5-0 win. I think Gausman's in trouble in this one. I think Tanner Houck's the better option, even though he's been a little shaky to start the year. I think he was better in that last game against the Orioles. So I'm going to go with the Red Sox in this one on the money line and run line. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Ryan Pepiot and Yusei Kikuchi are your starters. I've watched the first 2 games of the season for Ryan Pepiot, and you look at the ERA on paper at 2.45, looks pretty good, 11 strikeouts in 11 innings, but I have noticed his control's been a little bit off, missing inside and outside the zone, and he's given up a lot of sharp contact, a lot of balls put into play above 100 miles per hour in terms of the exit velo. That's always a concern. We've seen some good strikeout starting pitchers have the issue of giving up the occasional home run, but it seems like almost any time the ball is put into play against Ryan Pepiot, it has some heat to it. And when you've got guys like Jorge Soler and Mike Trout in the opposing batter's box, it's just, I don't really love the matchup for Pepiot, especially at this price. I think if Pepiot, in this situation was, minus 120 or plus money, I'd be much more willing to take him. But at this kind of price, I think the value lies with the Halos. You look at the Rays against lefties to start the season, a very small sample size, but not great numbers. I mean, one of the bottom teams in team OPS, isolated power, strikeout rate's pretty steep. I think Kikuchi was a lot better in his second outing than he was in that first game. So I think the value lies with the Angels in this one. I'm going to take them plus the 1.5 runs and on the money line. Next up, the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Atlanta Braves. Taijuan Walker and Grant Holmes are your starters. I think there's a situation where we can get Atlanta at a really discount, cheap price because of their struggles to start the year and the fact you look at on paper, Taijuan Walker 1-0 with a 0 ERA. Against the Rockies, he had 6 innings, 4 strikeouts, no runs. And you look at Grant Holmes, struggled in his last game against the Dodgers, 7.2 ERA, 0-1 record. The Braves lineup is struggling, in the bottom half of the lineup. But I think Grant Holmes is the much better option in this game. I think Taijuan Walker is going to get crushed at some point early this season, like we saw at the beginning of last year. He against the current Braves lineup, which he has a lot of plate appearances against in his career, very low strikeout rate. The walk rate's a little bit elevated. The expected slugging percentage at .517. I think Walker gives up a couple of bombs in this one, a few walks to go with it. I don't think he misses a lot of bats. I think the Braves get to him early and often. I'm going to go Atlanta in this one on the money line, and I think about laying 1.5 runs as well. Next up, we have the Minnesota Twins and the Kansas City Royals. Joe Ryan and Seth Lugo are your starters. Joe Ryan's had great numbers against these Royals hitters in his career. 125 plate appearances, 32% strikeout rate, and a .308 expected slugging percentage is super low, 194 expected batting average. I think he has a good outing here. His last start wasn't his best. I think he puts together a quality start in this one, though. And Seth Lugo, I've mentioned, I think he regresses in 2025. He doesn't have the best numbers against the current Twins lineup, a pretty low strikeout rate. The expected slugging percentage a little bit steep. I think the Twins can get to him early in this one. I like the Twins to win this game in the end, so give me Minnesota on the money line. Next up, the final game for the Tuesday card in Major League Baseball. It's going to be the Milwaukee Brewers and the Colorado Rockies. We're still waiting for the official starter for Milwaukee, but on the mound for the Rockies is Antonio Houdini Senzatella. I call him Houdini because I just don't know how he has not given up a run this season. I mean, 19 base hits in 9 2/3 innings of work. 19 hits in 9 2/3, 3 strikeouts, and 2 walks to go with it. So he's not missing bats. The walks haven't really been a problem. He hasn't given up a home run, of course, because he hasn't given up a single run. But 19 base runners, 19 base hits in those 2 games against the Phillies and Rays. And both of those teams, with runners in scoring position, just could not figure a way to get a run in. Plays at the plate, unbelievable defensive plays, double plays, you name it. Senzatella, the magician, Houdini, has been able to get out of those jams. It's not going to happen for the entire season, and I think he's in trouble in his Coors Field debut. The Brewers may not be an offensive juggernaut, but I still think they can get to Senzatella for a couple of runs early, add a few on the Rockies bullpen. We'll have to wait and see who Milwaukee goes with to start. Maybe take the over in the full game, but I still think the Brewers find a way to win this game, and it could be ugly. I'm going to go Milwaukee, lay the 1.5 runs on the run line. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.